Mark 11:12 through 19. The next day, after leaving Bethany, Jesus was hungry. From far away, he noticed a fig tree in leaf, so he went to see if he could find anything on it. When he came to it, he found nothing except leaves, since it wasn't the season for figs. So he said to it, "No one will ever again eat your fruit." His disciples heard this. They came into Jerusalem. After entering the temple, he threw out those who were selling and buying there. He pushed over the tables used for currency exchange and the chairs of those who sold doves. He didn't allow anyone to carry anything through the temple. He taught them, "Hasn't it been written, 'My house will be called a house of prayer for all nations'? But you've turned it into a hideout for crooks." The chief priests and legal experts heard this and tried to find a way to destroy him. They regarded him as dangerous because the whole crowd was enthralled at his teaching. When it was evening, Jesus and his disciples went outside the city. Only Mark's gospel gives us the events of each day of the last week of Jesus' life. According to Mark, the next day, Monday, Jesus and his followers left Bethany and set out on foot to Jerusalem. On the way, he saw a fig tree which had no fruit on it because it was the wrong time of year for it to bear. He condemned the tree and then proceeded on to Jerusalem. So what did the fig tree do wrong? It wasn't time to bear. Are we condemned before we're prepared? Following that strange passage, we come to the well-known passage about overturning tables in the temple. We often call it the cleansing of the temple. We know about cleansing right now. We're washing our hands multiple times per day to guard against disease. Maybe this is a call to look at our churches carefully and evaluate what we do. Maybe we do need to do some hand washing in the church and maybe need to mend the ways we use our funds. But in defense of the temple authorities and the fig tree, they were doing what needed to be done. It's necessary for all living things to prepare itself for bearing fruit in a particular season. Likewise, the temple kept the peace between Rome and the Jewish people and therefore had to collect the taxes. We often propose that the process was corrupt, and that was probably true to some extent. We are all guilty of sin. But did Jesus merely clean up the business of the temple, or was it something more serious? In their book, The Last Week, Marcus Borg and Dom Crossan remind us that the fig tree illustration probably had something to do with what happened in the temple. Mark didn't include any fluff in his gospel. Each word counted. In my understanding of the life of Jesus, there wasn't a lot of fluff there either. So what did the fig tree have to do with cleansing the temple? In his rage, Jesus quoted Jeremiah 7:11, calling the temple a den of thieves. In order to understand verse 11, though, we need to back up and hear the context for his words. Jeremiah 7:1 through 11, in the Common English Bible, says, "Jeremiah received the Lord's word. Stand near the gate of the Lord's temple and proclaim there this message. Listen to the Lord's word, all you of Judah who enter these gates to worship the Lord. This is what the Lord of heavenly forces, the God of Israel, says. Improve your conduct and your actions, and I will dwell with you in this place. Don't trust in lies. This is the Lord's temple. The Lord's temple. The Lord's temple. If you truly reform your ways and your actions, if you treat each other justly, if you stop taking advantage of the immigrant, orphan, or widow, if you don't shed the blood of the innocent in this place, or go after other gods to your own ruin, Only then will I dwell with you in this place, in the land that I gave long ago to your ancestors for all time. And yet you trust in lies that will only hurt you. Will you steal and murder, commit adultery and perjury, sacrifice to Baal and go after other gods that you don't know, and then come and stand before me in this temple that bears my name and say, we are safe, only to keep on doing all these detestable things? Do you regard this temple, which bears my name, as a hiding place for criminals? I can see what's going on here, declares the Lord. Improve your conduct and your actions. Treat each other justly. Stop taking advantage of the immigrant, orphan, or widow. Don't steal, murder, commit adultery or perjury, and don't let other gods get in the way of your worship of me. The temple in Jesus' day became as evil as in Jeremiah's day, protecting those who could pay and leaving the rest to fend for themselves. Jesus called for drastic change, overturned the tables of those who collected the money for Rome under the disguise of worshiping God. Jesus didn't cleanse the temple. Borg and Crossan said he shut it down. We know a little about the effects of shutting down business and church today. Business was shut down with a call to return to true worship of God, which plays out in action, improvement of conduct. We've been shut down by COVID-19. Nothing is the same right now. Life is uncertain for the short term and for the long term economically, I'm afraid. What lessons are we learning in all of this? How will life be different when we return to normal?